Hi, welcome back. So hopefully your exams are wrapping up now and we're ready for a new series. So last time around I did survive in semester 1, but the light's drawing in, the nights are getting a little bit shorter, and it's maybe time to look at something new. This series is all about Greek tragedy explained. I took a punt on this because I know that for many people it's something you have to study for the first time at uni. You might use it as evidence a little bit in GCSE, and if you're really lucky you might do the module at A-level. So hopefully no matter what level you're working at, this series is going to help you. I'm going to take you through lots of different aspects of the theatre by theme, looking at the theatre building, different kinds of dance, the chorus, what sort of special effects were on offer at the theatre. So it's going to be taken thematically before I start looking at plays individually. It's going to be a really nice general overview of the theatre to give you some grounding, and at the end you're going to get my top tips on how to use that information to give your grades a little bit of a boost. Okay, before we start I want to thank some of the new subscribers we've had. We've had a real flurry of people joining the channel. So a huge shout out to Amber Dorkostopper, Molly Rose Lee, Green Rollins, Anthea Bisgrove, Adrian Yam, Angus Reed, Rob Brethauer, Safar Syed, Anna Whitaker and Hannah Maguire. If I've mispronounced any of those, I'm really sorry, but welcome to the channel and thank you for subscribing. It really helps us on our way. Okay, so today I'm going to start right at the very beginning, and we can't really talk about Greek tragedy explained without understanding and appreciating the Greek theatres themselves. So we're going to have a little look at the structure of the theatre today, and hopefully we can look at some of these together on the screen. So when you think about the theatre, you'll probably be thinking about the one in Athens that's in good condition. So the Herodes Atticus is the theatre that's currently open for visitors, still in use actually in the Athens Theatre Festivals today. But it's undergone a Roman renovation. So when we think about a Greek theatre, we'd be thinking about that classic sort of semicircular shape called the theatron. You have a round or a semicircular space at the bottom called the orchestra. Either side, you'd have two corridors entering the theatre, and these are either called acidoi, for two, or paradoi, still for two. If you want to talk about one, it'd be acidos, parados. Acidos is literally your entranceway, so this is where the chorus would rush on. For the main characters, you'd be thinking about the building at the back of the stage space. So the skene building is where we get the word scene from, and it's really important because, as we'll talk about later in the series, Athenian theatre used a really limited number of actors that had to change around, so it's a good place to have a backstage area to get changed in and make those all important changes between scenes. But the skene also functions as like a household or a focal point for the play itself. What's more unusual when we think about, say, Herodes Atticus, is this idea of having a proscenium at the front, so having this kind of built up wall with lots of different statues and things that have kind of eroded over time. This is quite a Roman ideal actually, and it seems to be the case that for Greek theatres the back would be really open, and there are lots of examples of this style of theatre all across Europe and going into Asia a little bit too, I think. So something we're not used to seeing when we tour an ancient theatre is the thymele, or thumele, and this would be a podium to the Greek god Dionysus. So tragedy in ancient Athens and in ancient Greece functioned not just as a civic experience, but in Athens particularly as a religious one. So the city Dionysia was held in the theatre of Dionysus in Athens. And Dionysus is the god of drama, he's the god of entertainment, he's also the god of the vine. So this idea of being a bit boozy and enjoying some entertainment, but also perhaps some associations with the harvest as well. There are two different kinds of festivals, types of Dionysian festivals, so the city Dionysia and the rural Dionysia, and it seems that one kind of spawned off of the other. They both involve a kind of purification of the theatre space with a blood sacrifice, usually of a pig or perhaps a bull, and also a kind of Pompeii. So this idea of pomp and ceremony comes from the Pompeii, the procession into the theatre as well. So it's not just about the plays that were performed, it's about the whole experience and the ceremony of going to the theatre too. Another thing to note, and you'll probably know this already, is that the theatron, the levelled steps, the ones that we have existing are in stone. And the most remarkable thing about them is when you go down into the orchestra where the chorus would dance. So the chorus is a group of people who would sing, dance and accompany the main action. If you've ever done a school play and been asked to be the narrator, you might understand a little bit more of the chorus's role. That's a bit simplistic, and we'll go over there all in more detail in a future video. But they kind of guide the play along, even if they're not always directly involved in the action. If you stand where the chorus would have been dancing, you can clap and you hear that the acoustics in the theatron are perfect. Everything bounces back to you. So it's a little bit like being in the middle of a speaker. You can hear everything come back. What's also remarkable about the stone steps in the theatron is that you can see engravings of who would be sat there and who would sit where. So the idea of having prime seating. Now, the theatre was relatively inclusive in Athens. It was a community experience, it was religious, and so, relatively speaking, it was a bit more inclusive. We're still not sure that women could go, but we know that in Athens they made subsidies to allow people of low income to be able to go to the theatre. The etchings on the stonework suggest that more affluent people, or remarkable people like politicians, would sit closer to the front and get the good seats. So that kind of old adage of the cheap seats at the back is really, really still the case for the ancient theatre. And we'll talk a lot more in future about how masks, costumes and the kind of stage effects that were available would make that still visually appealing and would make it possible for the people at the back to see what's going on. There were no screens to project things up for the benefit of the people sat at the back as well. So that is a very, very basic makeup of the Greek theatre. The aim of the whole enterprise really was, it was a competition. So you would win in a tragic category or a comic category, or a different kind of play that you might not have heard of is satyr drama, which we can talk about in a future series. I'll leave a link in the description below to some other useful videos to get you thinking about the theatre, but you just have to understand that it's very, very different from the way that we experience theatre today. And that'll give you a grounding for some of the future videos where we're going to have a little bit more of a look at stage effects, actors, costumes, masks, and what made Greek tragedy pop in its own day. Okay, see you next time. Sorry for being late today. Another one of my projects is creating illustrations of the ancient world to sell online. I'll leave a link in the description below. So far we've got vintage travel posters of the Colossus at Rhodes, the Hanging Gardens of Babylon and the Lighthouse at Alexandria. I'm aiming to complete the other 4 of these 7 ancient wonders this month. So have a look on Redbubble and please like and share and pass it on. Thanks!